everybody, it's Kelsee Briana J, and in today's video I am going to be reviewing and talking about the newest launch from Pat McGrath, the Mothership Sublime Golden Opulence eyeshadow palette. So she launched this eyeshadow palette in celebration of the Chinese New Year 2020. So I was able to get my hands on this palette. So that's what we're going to be talking about. But first, I have to address the elephant in the room because I know that so many of you all clicked on this video to talk about this palette in particular, but I know that there are a good handful of you all who clicked on this video to talk about Pat McGrath's current business practices and how everything has gone down with some of her more recent launches. So let's discuss it. If you all are in the loop of everything that was going on with Pat McGrath's Star Wars launch, then you'll know that she had a few issues with getting orders out, as well as there was a lack of palettes that were available at the time that she said it was going to be available at, and that has made a lot of people angry, myself included. You all know I am a huge fan of Pat McGrath. I've been an early supporter of hers. I've been following and appreciating Pat McGrath's work for such a long time, so I've been knowing about her. So I have always supported her ever since her first launch of her brand, and I was actually among the first batch of influencers that she put on her Instagram page. So I have been rocking and rolling with Pat McGrath since the beginning. So to see some of the things that are going on right now, it is a bit disappointing because Pat McGrath Labs have been advertising that the Star Wars Decadence palette was going to be launched at a specific time on her website, and she had the option to sign up for emails, and then whoever signed up for that would get the link to it a little bit earlier and would be able to shop it. But if you guys have been in the loop and you know what's going on, the majority of people who signed up to get those emails to get the Decadence palette did not get to get it. We all kind of knew that it was going to be a large frenzy for this because one, so many people have been wanting the Decadence palette to come back, so she finally was relaunching that, but also she was relaunching it in the special Star Wars packaging and in collaboration with that. We all know how dedicated and serious Star Wars fans were. So not only were we going to have to fight people who wanted the Decadence palette, but we also had to battle against the people who were die-hard Star Wars fans who are going to buy Star Wars period and may not have even known about Pat McGrath Labs in the beginning. So we all already knew that, and if you were like me, you set your alarm, you were ready, you were on the site, you were like, okay, I'm getting this palette. Because I call myself the makeup ninja. I've never been defeated. I always get my hands on things, and I am willing to put in that work. But as of late, most brands don't do that crazy stay up all night stalking thing. I feel like most brands have gone towards the limited life route where the product is limited edition, but it doesn't sell out in 1 minute and then you can't get your hands on it. I feel like most brands have evolved past that and they've made products be a little bit more readily available, so you're able to get it as long as you get it rather quickly. But as far as the selling out in a minute and then having to pay insane prices on eBay and things like that, I haven't seen that happen as much. But this particular palette did not launch at the time that they said it was going to, even though that is what they had been advertising, even though they gave us the option to sign up for our email. They launched it earlier, and then they told the people on their Instagram stories that they were launching it earlier. So if you were miraculously up and looking at Pat McGrath Labs' Instagram story, then you would have had access to this palette earlier than the launch date that they had been stating. So that was so frustrating. I was not able to get my hands on it, and a lot of you all weren't, and a lot of people were very upset about that, especially since Pat McGrath had a little bit of a debacle going on with her last Mothership palette because it was launched overseas, and then it was launched a little bit on her website, and then it kind of went away. So people were like, okay, what is going on? And on top of that, her shipping times have been very slow because she had a Black Friday sale and some of her lipsticks went on sale, and then she had another deal where you can get some money off of your purchase. I got my purchases that I made from that sale in November or early December, at the end of December. So there have been a lot of things that have gone on that made people be like, okay, I am very upset about this, and it's kind of disenchanting because we were all in this trance of we love Pat McGrath. Pat McGrath is mother, and we are like holding her to a higher expectation. I know that I've gotten a lot of comments from people asking me if I'm going to cancel Pat McGrath. How do I feel about it? And so that's why I wanted to talk to you all about it right now, because I am very upset with how some things have been being handled with the brand, especially since I love Pat McGrath, and Pat McGrath is the only black luxury brand that exists. So of course I am going to want to support her naturally because I am a fan of luxury products. I'm a fan of her makeup style, and I am just overall proud of her for her accomplishments. But there do need to be changes that are made because this brand is $1 billion brand at this point. So in the beginning, she was growing and still getting a little bit more recognition for her brands. But at this point, everybody knows Pat McGrath Labs. And so when the mothership palettes drop especially, people are going to want them. And if you're doing a collaboration with a brand as big as Star Wars, you're going to have to come with a little bit more because you already know that people are going to want it. You say that you're going to launch it at a certain time, it needs to be at that time to give everybody a fair chance. So I've played this game before with MAC Cosmetics. They used to do this back in the day, but they would never tell us a specific time. So I would just be sitting there stalking all night long to get the products that I want. I don't typically do that nowadays. So I don't like to see when businesses do that because it creates this rat race. And furthermore, with Pat McGrath, I saw where she was commenting to people on her Instagram posts that were saying that they were disappointed that they couldn't get it to DM her. So that was something else that I just felt like was unfair, simply because why do they get to DM you and get the product? So I sent her a DM twice. I didn't hear anything back. And I personally feel like that wasn't a good business practice because it shows favoritism. Because it's like, why are you picking this person and not picking this person? It's like, if you have leftover palettes, then just release those on the website and then it will be first come, first serve. But telling people to DM you and then not responding to some people, but then responding to other people, it just is not a good look. So I'm not going to say that at this point that I'm going to cancel Pat McGrath, but I definitely am, like I said, disenchanted. I'm very disappointed with how everything has been handled, and hopefully going forward, this can be a learning lesson, and I hope that she makes everything right and is able to relaunch the Decadence palette or make it up to so many of the people out there who were not able to get their hands on this palette. So let me know if you all got a chance to get it. Let me know where you stand with Pat McGrath. I am willing to give her another chance, but I do want to see some changes be made because this cannot continue to go on because the people are not here for it in 2020. So with that being said, I did go ahead and order this palette. I did see where this palette had a little bit more stock available. I did get several emails about this palette being available, and I don't know if it was because A, they made more inventory of this palette, or B, so many people were so upset that they were like, I'm not buying the next thing that she comes out with. I don't know which one it is, but I do feel that there was a little bit more of a fair chance to get this. I saw where this was launched on both Sephora's website and her website. So I picked it up from her website, and if you pick up things from her website on the launch day, typically she does give a bit of a discount, so I was able to get 10% off of this. This retails for $65, but this is also available on Sephora's website for the full price of $65. This is what the packaging looks like. It's very beautiful. It is very smooth, so the glitter is not textured. It's not falling off, which I appreciate because I do not like to have glitter everywhere on my person, on my area. I'm a person who likes a little bit of a more tidy product, so it gives the illusion of the glitter, but it's very smooth, and then it has the gold lettering. So I think this packaging is really beautiful. This is actually one of my favorite mini mothership palette packages because I love red. I'm a Delta. Ooh. So I'm here for it. But this one is in celebration of the Chinese New Year. This year is the year of the rat 2020. I don't love rats, so I probably won't buy a lot of products that have a rat on them. Thankfully, this one did not. So the description for this palette from Pat McGrath's website, you already know it's very extra. So let's get into it. It says 6 sublime shimmers and mesmerizing mattes summon the ravishing resplendence and hypnotic hedonism evoked by all tomorrow's parties. Okay. With provocative pigments ranging from glitterati golds and notorious nudes to risque roses, this cult covetable Star Child palette delivers sensuously saturated shades and futuristic formulations, gilding eyes and sparkle that shimmies from scintillating soirees to hot spot to disco daybreak. So that was one heck of a description. This is what the palette looks like. So very beautiful. And then it's in the traditional Pat McGrath packaging. So it has the twisting in the front. And then when you open it up, it does come with a mirror. And then it has 6 different eyeshadows. So it has a mix of shimmers and matte eyeshadows in here. Each pan, there's 2 grams of product. And the color story for this palette is a little bit more neutral rosy like. And then it has that pop of that very bright gold eyeshadow. So I definitely am going to insert swatches of this palette as well as comparison swatches. I'm going to go ahead and jump into that, and then following that I will show you guys how to create this eye look. And then stay tuned until the end of the video and I will let you guys know my final thoughts on this palette. And if you are interested in any of the makeup details, make sure you look in the description box and I will tell you all exactly what is on my face. So I hope that you all enjoy this video. Let me know your thoughts on everything that has been surrounding Pat McGrath Labs, and let me know if you all plan on getting this palette. I will check you all shortly. Enjoy. Do our eyes. I already have my eyes primed with the Anastasia Beverly Hills eye primer. So now let's go into this palette and create our eye look. So I'm going to start off with the blending brush and the color Tranquility. Just a little bit because this color is super pigmented, and I'm going to take this above my crease and buff it out, and this is going to be my transition color. So I really love colors like this to start off my eye looks. I feel like this type shade matches my complexion best as a transition shade because it just gives you that effortless blend and it creates a little bit more structure for your eye look. So I'm going back and forth with this color above my crease, and I'm using buffing motions to feather it up. I'm not going to take it all the way up to the brow, but it's sort of getting in the crease, and that's okay. Because like I said, I do want to create that structure, and this is going to help us blend out the rest of the eyeshadows. Layer this color up just a few times, but pretty much this is what we want it to look like. Same brush, and I'm going to go into Prosperity, and as you all see, I already have that crease and transition color blended out. So I'm just going to take this color very gently and slightly deepen up the crease and apply this color also on the lid on the outer V. So this color is very, very pigmented. So just be very careful with your placement of it. I'm concentrating this color on the outer corner on the furthest part of my eye. And then I'm going to turn the brush and pack some of that color on the lid too. Give us a little bit of definition for our eye look. But as per usual, this color is super pigmented. So you don't need a whole lot. But take your time with it. Build it up, and then make sure that it's blended with that crease color. So you may have to take your time and blend this color out. And if you need to go back with a little bit of that other color just to make sure that there are no lines of demarcation, do so. But I suggest that you go in with the light hands with this color because like I said, it's super pigmented. So next I'm going to take a flat shader brush and the color Eternal Opulence. With this color, I'm going to pop it right on the inner corner. Very pigmented. It just takes just a little doop, and I can do both of my eyes. And for the lid color, I'm going to take the shade Lotus Love. So I'm taking the flat part of this brush and then building this color up. I am connecting it to the inner tear duct color, slightly feathering it over so it blends really well. And then I'm taking it up to the crease. I'm not going to take it all the way in the crease. I'm just going to press it right next to where the crease sort of ends or begins, depending on how you want to look at it, just so it's blending as well. And then, of course, tap on the outer corner and make sure that these two colors are blended together as well. And then go back in and then add more color where you see fit so where it's completely opaque. This color is a little bit grittier than the others. So it'll take a little while for it to build up because it's not as smooth, because it has larger glitter flecks. I'm going back with the outer corner color, Prosperity, just to add a little bit more there. It did get covered up just a bit to make sure that my outer corner still is defined and popping. So I'm going to take it into the crease again, just to further blend out this eye look and then re-intensify this outer corner. Now I'm taking a detailer brush. This is a Wayne Goss 07 and doing the lower lash line. I'm going to go back in with Eternal Opulence. I picked up a bit much. I'm going to re-intensify the top inner corner. I'm going to pop some on the lower inner corner. Same brush, and let's dip into Gold Fortune. And I want that on the middle. And then lastly, I'm going to dip into Moon Phase. And let's close off this eye look by applying this on the outer corner and then wrapping it around to connect to the top. The color is kind of light. It's lighter than I thought it was going to be. So I'm just going to go back into the darker brown and connect that to the top. And here's the finished look. So now let's talk about my final thoughts about this palette. So I like the look that I was able to create, and I think that it looks very beautiful. It definitely puts me in the mind frame of the holiday season and Chinese New Year. So I think that the color story is very representative of that theme. I like that, and I think that the color story of this palette is very cohesive. So I was able to do my entire eye look using this palette, and I have every element that I personally like to have when doing my eye look. I like to have a transition color. I had that. I like to have an outer V color. It was that. And I like to have several options for lid shades as well as inner tear ducts colors. And I feel like this palette hit those marks. On the flip side, do I feel that this palette is unique? The answer to that is no. I feel like I have these colors several times over by Pat McGrath. There are several colors throughout her palettes that look almost identical to these palettes on my complexion. So I'm not going to say that I feel like this is the most unique offering from her. I don't necessarily have a color story put together in this manner by her, but I own all of her palettes. So throughout each palette, I can find a color that is similar enough to create this eye look. However, if you are a collector of Pat McGrath palettes, or if you are a huge fan of the Chinese New Year items, then I would say get it, because the quality is nice, the color story is nice, and I feel like this is a really beautiful collector's item. But if I am being completely transparent, like I said, I already have these colors throughout my collection, in my Pat McGrath collection, in my opinion. This is not a color story that I'm going to reach for all of the time. I'm not particularly drawn to mauve-y rose tones or that bright gold color, but these colors work together and they work on my complexion. So as you all can see, I created this look and it worked out. I didn't have any issues with the formulation of the eyeshadows in this palette, even though I mentioned during the application that one of the eyeshadows was a little bit drier in formulation than the others. But even still, with that eyeshadow feeling a little bit more gritty, it still performed, and I didn't feel like I needed to reach outside to get some type of spray or some sort of adhesive to get it to show up. I still went in with it dry and it performed. But I did notice a difference in the formulation of it, and I just wanted to notate that for you all. But I'm keeping this palette strictly for collector's purposes, and I'm likely going to put it in the drawer and not reach for it that often. As always, selecting makeup is such a personal decision, so you're going to have to decide if this is a color story that you want to have, or if this is a palette that you want to collect if you're not drawn to the color story like me. Like I've said in several of my videos, I do collect palettes from Pat McGrath. So I do have a few other palettes in my collection from her that I don't reach for that often because I don't wear those colors that much. And this is going to go in that stockpile. Let me know what you all think about this palette down in the comment section. Did you get your hands on it? Do you plan on getting your hands on it? I know that this palette was more readily available than some of her more recent launches, so that's a good thing. I want to know what you all think about everything down in the comments section, and I will check you all in my very next video, which will be super soon. Smooches. Bye.